My name is Camille Hart, and I'm 29 years old. If you looked at my life from the outside, you'd probably think I was one of those women who had it all figured out, a steady career, an apartment with sunlight pouring through wide windows, and a charming boyfriend who seemed to adore me. That boyfriend's name was Bryce. 27, ambitious, always networking, always smiling at the right people. For 2 years, he had been woven into every part of my life. I thought we were building a future. But the truth arrived on an ordinary Friday night wrapped in the slurred laughter of his best friend. It was late, close to midnight, when I ducked into a downtown lounge with 2 coworkers. The music throbbed low, the kind of bass that makes your chest hum, and the room smelled like lime, spilled vodka, and cheap perfume. That's when Naomi, one of Bryce's closest friends, stumbled toward me. Her eyeliner smudged like shadows under her eyes, hair-tangled heels clicking unevenly. She spotted me instantly, her face lighting up with drunken recognition. "Camille," she sang, almost collapsing against me. "Camille Hart, you're too good for this place." I laughed politely, steadying her. "Naomi, are you okay?" "Oh, I'm wonderful," she giggled, gripping my arm. Then her face shifted into something meaner, her lips twisted, eyes glittering with the kind of honesty alcohol can't hold back. "You know what Bryce calls you when you're not around?" she whispered. I froze. Naomi leaned closer, her breath hot with gin. "He calls you his plan B, his retirement plan. You're the safe choice, the wife material. He says once he's done having fun, he'll settle down with you." The words sliced into me sharp and casual. My pulse hammered in my ears. I forced a smile, swallowing the shock. "That's funny," I said lightly, though my voice cracked. Naomi cackled. "He's brilliant, isn't he? Always has backup plans." Then she stumbled off toward the bar, leaving me standing there with my glass of water trembling in my hand. That night I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling of my apartment, while Bryce's words, no, Naomi's words, echoed inside me. Plan B, retirement plan, wife material when he's done having fun. Hadn't I already been suspicious his networking events that stretched until 3 in the morning? His phone face down during dinner, buzzing like a restless insect. His mentor Zara appearing in endless Instagram stories, always a little too close, her hand brushing his arm. I'd swallowed his explanations before. Late-night pitches, team bonding, mentorship. Love makes you gullible like that. But now Naomi's drunken confession turned all those puzzle pieces into something hideous. By morning, I was exhausted but alert in a way I hadn't been in months. My instincts sharpened, hungry for the truth. I started small. I scrolled through Bryce's tagged photos, the ones he assumed I'd never notice. Zara was everywhere. Neon lights of clubs, rooftop selfies, blurry dance floors. Always her smile angled toward him. Always his arm heavy around her shoulders. Then came the jokes. Memes shared by his friends. Date for potential marry for the portfolio. Starter girlfriends versus forever wives. I scrolled until my stomach turned. And then the final crack in the facade, a video from Naomi's feed recorded at a girls' night. Bryce's voice was unmistakable, slurring with arrogance. "Camille's gonna buy us a house one day. Until then, boys, a man's gotta live right." Laughter exploded in the background. My laughter in the past had always been softer, indulgent. But hearing their laughter now, it felt like knives. I screen recorded everything. In the days that followed, I became an actress. I smiled at Bryce, laughed at his jokes, even kissed him goodnight. But every touch felt counterfeit. Every word he spoke sounded hollow. Inside, I was hollow too, but I filled that hollow space with planning. Because if I was his plan B, then he was about to discover that even plan B has a breaking point. One evening, Bryce came home later than usual, the scent of expensive perfume clinging to his jacket. "Rough night?" I asked, casually setting a glass of water on the counter. He smiled sheepish. "Just networking, babe. You know how it is." I nodded, pretending. Of course. But I watched him from across the room, the way his fingers tightened around his phone, the way his eyes darted away from mine. That night, when he turned his back, I whispered into the dark heap, playing Bryce. "I'm watching now." The tension stretched tighter each day. His 27th birthday was only 3 weeks away. He had been planning it obsessively, an entire restaurant rented 60 guests, speeches, gifts, photographers. He kept telling me, "This party's going to be legendary, Camille. Don't screw it up." He had no idea how right he was. Because while he rehearsed his performance, I was writing mine. And mine would end the game. I learned something about myself in those weeks after Naomi's confession. Heartbreak can make you sharper. For 2 years, I had been living inside the version of Bryce he wanted me to believe in, devoted, ambitious, a man who only needed time before he settled down. But once I heard the words Plan B, it was like scales fell from my eyes. Every smile he gave me, every late-night excuse became evidence waiting to be collected. And so I began collecting. The first thing I did was create a new Instagram account. Fake name, fake photo, nothing that could trace back to me. I followed a few of Bryce's friends' girls I had seen orbiting around him at parties, men who slapped him on the back like they shared some private joke. It didn't take long before the stories poured in. Clips of Bryce at bars, drinks raised in the air. Zara pressed close against him. Posts captioned with things like starter girlfriends versus forever wives and tagged with fire emojis. One night I scrolled until my hand cramped. That's when I saw it a meme. Someone had posted a picture of a cartoon man juggling two women. The caption read, "Date her for the fun, marry her for the funds." Bryce had commented 3 laughing faces, a champagne bottle, and a house emoji. I remember staring at that comment until my vision blurred. I wanted to cry, but the tears didn't come. Instead, something colder settled in me, a kind of resolve. Days turned into nights, and the evidence piled up. There was a photo of Zara leaning against Bryce at a rooftop bar, his hand resting comfortably at her waist. Another shot of them at a club, neon lights splashing across their grins. Bryce wasn't hiding these moments. He just assumed I wouldn't look closely enough. But the worst came from a shaky video posted by Naomi herself during another drunken night out. Bryce's voice rang out loud and smug above the music. "Camille's gonna buy us a house one day, boys. Until then, a man's gotta live." The camera shook with laughter. His laughter. Their laughter. I froze the frame thumb, hovering over his face. My Bryce, the man who had held me when I lost my grandmother, who whispered about future children, who promised forever, was mocking me in front of his friends. I screen recorded it. My fingers didn't tremble this time. Meanwhile, Bryce was oblivious. He strutted around our apartment, humming, while he ironed his shirt, asking me which tie looked best for his big pitch meetings. He rehearsed speeches in the mirror, lips curling into confident smiles, practicing gratitude lines for his birthday toast. He thought he was untouchable. "Camille," he said one night as he flipped through a list of restaurants on his phone, "this party is huge. Zara's helping me invite some big names. Don't embarrass me, okay? Keep it classy." I nodded sweetly. "Of course, Bryce, you can count on me." Inside, my pulse thudded with a new kind of rhythm, a countdown. I started making copies, screenshots stored on multiple drives, a folder buried deep on my laptop labeled innocuously as work drafts. I wasn't going to be the woman who screamed accusations without proof. No, when the time came, I wanted Bryce's own words, his own arrogance to condemn him. Every night before bed, I opened that folder and reviewed it all. The memes, the comments, the videos, not because I doubted anymore, but because I needed to feel the fire. I could almost hear my future toast forming in the back of my mind, sharp and measured. "You've taught me something, Bryce, that I deserve to be someone's first choice, not their safety net." The thought of it made me almost smile. Almost. But beneath the resolve, there was still pain. One evening, while Bryce was out networking, I sat at our kitchen table with my laptop open and my phone buzzing with his unanswered texts. I stared at a picture of us from last Christmas, me in a red sweater, him in a navy blazer, both of us grinning like we were the golden couple. I remember whispering into the empty room, "How could you?" The silence offered no answer, only the faint hum of the refrigerator and the ache in my chest. It would have been easier to leave quietly, pack my things, and vanish. But I knew Bryce. If I disappeared, he'd rewrite the story. He'd tell everyone I couldn't handle his success, that I was clingy, insecure, crazy. No. If I was going to leave, I was going to leave with the truth. And I was going to put that truth exactly where it would hurt him most, right at the center of his carefully constructed spotlight. As the birthday party drew closer, Bryce became more demanding. "Camille, did you confirm the RSVPs? Camille, don't forget the photographer's deposit. Camille, I want the cake to be 3 tiers, not 2. Every instruction dripped with entitlement, as though I were his assistant instead of his partner. He never once asked if I wanted to celebrate him. The irony was almost poetic. He had no idea that while I tied his bow tie, while I smiled at his rehearsals, while I ordered the cake, he demanded I was also preparing the stage for his downfall. 3 nights before the party, I overheard him on the phone in the living room. His voice was low, playful. "No, babe, she's clueless. Yeah, of course I'll be there after. The party's just for show." I stepped closer, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. He didn't see me. "Yes, Zara, you know you're the only one I want." I stood frozen in the hallway, nails digging into my palm until they left half-moon marks. He hung up minutes later, waltzed into the kitchen, and kissed me on the forehead like nothing had happened. "Big night's almost here, Cam," he said cheerfully. I forced a smile, my throat dry. I know. It'll be unforgettable. That night, I couldn't close my eyes. I lay awake and imagined the moment the clinking glasses, the crowded room Bryce, looking at me expectantly for the loving speech he assumed I'd give. I pictured the silence that would follow when I revealed what he really thought of me. And for the first time since Naomi's drunken words, I felt something other than anger. I felt anticipation. The night of Bryce's 27th birthday arrived like a storm I had been waiting to unleash. The restaurant glowed with golden light chandeliers catching every shimmer of champagne. 60 guests packed the room, family coworkers, Zara with her perfect red dress, and Bryce himself in a tailored suit he couldn't afford without my help. He had spent weeks orchestrating this spectacle, but it was my hands that had done the labor, the decorations strung from the ceiling, the photographer booked the cake delivered in 3 flawless tiers. I was the quiet architect of his stage, and tonight I would also be the executioner. Bryce worked the crowd with practiced charm. He slapped shoulders, kissed cheeks, laughed louder than everyone else. His arm around me felt like a prop. "Camille," he whispered as the first course was cleared. "Don't forget your speech. Make me proud." I met his eyes and smiled sweetly. "Oh, I won't forget." He didn't notice the edge in my voice. He never did. Halfway through the night, Bryce rose to his feet, tapping his glass. "Everyone," he called out, his voice smooth. "I just want to say thank you. This past year has been incredible, and I couldn't have done it without all of you, my colleagues, my family, my mentor, Zara." He paused for effect, shooting her a grin. "And of course, my amazing girlfriend, Camille." Polite applause echoed through the room. He turned to me expectant. "Cam, you always give the best speeches. Your turn." I stood slowly, feeling every eye follow me. My knees were steady, my heart a quiet drum. I raised my glass, let the room hush. "To new beginnings," I began, my voice even. Bryce's smile widened. He thought he knew where this was going. "They say the truth will set you free," I continued, "and tonight feels like the perfect night for freedom." A ripple of curiosity swept through the guests. Bryce tilted his head confused, but still smiling. "Bryce," I said, locking my gaze on him, "you've taught me so much about myself, like how I deserve to be someone's first choice, not their retirement plan." The room went still. I felt the collective intake of breath as the words settled. "I know about Plan B," I went on, my voice sharper now. "How you call me the safe option, the one you'll settle for when you're done having fun. Your friend Naomi was drunk enough to tell me." Naomi, seated near the back, went pale. Gasps scattered across the tables. A few people exchanged shocked looks. Others stared at Bryce, waiting for his denial. I pulled out my phone, holding it like a dagger. "Shall I play the video? The one where you bragged that I'd buy you a house one day. Or maybe show the screenshots where you laugh about starter girlfriends versus forever wives." The silence was suffocating. Zara shifted uncomfortably. Bryce's coworkers leaned forward, his mother's face drained of color. I lowered my glass. "So tonight, on your special day, I'm giving you a gift: honesty. We're done. You're free to chase Zara or anyone else without feeling guilty about your safety net." Bryce's smile collapsed into rage. "Are you serious? Here at my birthday party?" "Yes," I said calmly. "You planned this party for 2 months. I've known about your betrayal for 3 weeks. The timing feels perfect to me." His jaw clenched, color rising in his cheeks. "You're humiliating me." "No," I replied evenly. "I'm showing people who you really are. You did the humiliating all by yourself." Bryce's father tried to stand, voice booming. "This is inappropriate. Sit down, Camille." I didn't flinch. Inappropriate is pretending to love someone while calling them Plan B. Inappropriate is cheating while letting them pay your rent. The words dropped like stones in a still pond. I slid a small box onto the table in front of Bryce. A neatly wrapped gift. "Happy birthday, Bryce." Inside is a book about living authentically. Seemed appropriate. His hands hovered above it, trembling. He didn't open it. He couldn't. I turned to the guests, my voice softer now. "Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm done playing the role he wrote for me." And then I walked out. The air outside was cool against my skin, a rush of freedom I hadn't tasted in months. Behind me, the room buzzed with murmurs, questions, shock. But I didn't look back. My phone vibrated in my purse as I crossed the street. First one message, then another, then a flood. I ignored them all. I wasn't going home, not yet. I had one more stop to make. My apartment. To change the locks. In the taxi, I stared out the window at the city lights smearing into color. My hands finally shook, adrenaline catching up to me. I pressed my palms together, forcing them still. For the first time in years, I wasn't Camille the girlfriend. I wasn't someone's safety net, I was just me. And Bryce, he could choke on his birthday cake. When I shut the door of my apartment that night, the silence felt alive. I leaned against the wall, shoes still on chest, heaving with adrenaline. For the first time in months, I breathed freely. But freedom never comes quietly. By the next morning, my phone had already collected over 100 messages. The progression was a study in manipulation. First 20 rage. Bryce calling me heartless, insane, ungrateful. Next 30 bargaining. We can work this out, Cam. You misunderstood. Naomi was lying. Zara's just a friend. Then 40 more guilt trips. I have nowhere to go. You're leaving me homeless. After everything I did for you, the final wave threats. I'll ruin your reputation. I'll sue you. You'll regret this. I replied once. Only once. You have 30 days to collect your belongings. Schedule a time. Bring a witness. Then I blocked him. He didn't take it well. 2 days later, while I was at work, Bryce and his sister showed up at my apartment with 3 of his friends. They rattled the doorknob, pounded on the door, tried the windows. What Bryce didn't know was that I had installed a Ring camera 2 days before his party. I had footage of him screaming at my door, calling me names, and Chloe, his sister, trying to pry open the window with a credit card. The neighbors called me in a panic. I told them not to worry. I had been expecting this. That night, I sat on my couch and watched the footage. Bryce's voice was hoarse. Chloe's hands red from yanking at the window. One of his friends muttered, "Man, maybe we should just go." Bryce snapped at him. "Shut up, she owes me." Owes him. As though I were a debt to be collected. I forwarded the footage to a lawyer the next morning, just in case. By the end of the week, Bryce escalated to dragging his allies into the fight. Zara messaged me late one evening. "Camille, you could have handled this better. He's devastated. What you did at the party was cruel." I stared at the message for a long time, then attached 3 screenshots, Bryce texting her at 2 in the morning while lying in bed next to me. "She's asleep. Call me." "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, babe." Her reply was almost laughable. That's out of context. Then she blocked me. His family wasn't far behind. Bryce's mother called my parents, a voice dripping with disdain. "Do you know what your daughter did? She humiliated my son in front of 60 people. She destroyed his birthday, his reputation, his career." My mother, bless her, listened patiently. Then she said, "Sounds like Camille finally grew a spine. Good for her," and hung up. When she told me later, I nearly cried, not from sadness, but relief. For once, I wasn't fighting alone. The text didn't stop, though. Bryce found new numbers, new accounts. At first, it was rage again. "You're nothing without me. You'll regret this." Then it softened into desperation. "Camille, please, let's just talk. I love you. We can get past this. I'll change." But every word reeked of entitlement. He didn't miss me. He missed the safety net, the comfort of knowing I'd always catch him when he fell. I ignored him. The isolation drove him to public theatrics. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot from Facebook. Bryce had posted a long rant about being betrayed by a manipulative girlfriend. He painted himself as the victim, claiming I had left him destitute after using him. The comments, however, didn't play along. "Didn't she pay your rent? Didn't you call her Plan B at your own party?" Bro, we were there. Don't rewrite history. Within hours, he deleted the post. But he wasn't finished. 3 days later, I came home to find a note taped to my door. His handwriting messy, desperate. "Camille, I'm sorry. I was drunk. I didn't mean any of it. Please let me in. Just one night. Just one chance." I peeled it off, crumpled it, and tossed it in the trash. The locks were already changed. He could scream at the door all he wanted. He wasn't getting back in. Still at night, I couldn't help the unease curling in my stomach. What if he tried harder? What if his anger tipped into something worse? I kept the Ring footage printed, the texts filed, every note. Evidence of a man unraveling. But instead of fear, I felt something else too, a growing strength. Because every act of his desperation confirmed what I already knew. He hadn't loved me. He had loved the role I played in his life, the patient woman, the safety net, the backup plan. Now that I had withdrawn, he was flailing, and I wasn't going to catch him. One evening, my friend Lena came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. She set the bags down on the counter and eyed me carefully. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel lighter," I admitted. She grinned. "Good, because from where I'm standing, it looks like Bryce is about to self-destruct, and honestly, I can't wait to watch." We clinked glasses, laughter bubbling between us. But deep inside, I knew Lena was right. Bryce wasn't finished. He was circling, looking for ways back into my life. And soon he'd try something even more reckless. If Bryce's rage had been loud before now, it turned dangerous. The texts weren't enough anymore. He wanted to prove he could still control me. It started on a Tuesday at 3 in the morning. The ring. Doorbell chime woke me from a dream. Heart pounding, I opened the app and saw him. Bryce on my porch hoodie pulled over his head, a crowbar in his hands. The footage was absurd. He was actually narrating his crime, muttering to himself as he jammed the metal against my doorframe. "This is my place too. I have rights," he hissed, sweat dripping down his temple. I called the police with shaking fingers. 10 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. On the footage, I watched them confront him. One officer actually laughed disbelief in his voice. "Sir, you're on camera. Trying to break into her apartment. That's not smart." Bryce's mask cracked. He sobbed, shouting about being kicked out of his own home. But the officers weren't moved. They showed him the certified eviction notice with his name printed nowhere. My lease. My signature. My apartment. He left humiliated, vowing it wasn't over. I knew he meant it. The next day, my phone buzzed with a fraud alert from my bank. Someone had tried to access my account armed with my social security number, birthday, even my mother's maiden name. Bryce knew all of it. But what he didn't know was that I never answer security questions honestly. He had typed in Buddy the name I'd told him was my first pet. The real answer, Sergeant Whiskers. A white cat I adored as a child. The bank flagged the attempt immediately. I froze my accounts, changed everything, filed a police report. Bryce wasn't just entitled, he was desperate. A few days later, desperation turned theatrical. His mother called again, her voice syrupy sweet this time. "Camille," she cooed, "let's be adults. Bryce made mistakes, yes, but you're not innocent either. It's only fair you help him transition." "Fair?" I asked, trying not to laugh. "He gave you 2 years of his life. You can't just throw him away." He called me Plan B for those 2 years. "That was a joke," she snapped. "Girls talk. Men are too sensitive." I nearly dropped the phone. "So what do you want?" She didn't hesitate. "You give him $3,000 to get started. I'll give him $500. Everyone wins." My jaw actually dropped. "You're asking me to pay $2 of the $500 so you can feel generous about paying $500? Exactly. A compromise." I hung up before I started screaming. The peak of his entitlement came the following Thursday. I pulled into my parking lot after work to find a moving truck idling in front of my building. 3 men hauled dollies, their faces strained, and there was Bryce, clipboard in hand, barking orders like a foreman. "We're here for the furniture," he said smoothly when I approached. "What furniture?" "My furniture, the couch, the TV, the bed, all of it." I stared at him, incredulous. "You mean the furniture I bought?" "With receipts in my name?" "I picked it out," he snapped. "That makes it mine." The movers exchanged wary glances. One muttered, "Lady, if his name's not on the receipts." I cut him off, pulling out a folder I had prepared weeks ago. Receipts for everything. I showed them one by one, couch, TV, bed, even the coffee maker. "You see this," I said flatly. "My name, my card, my purchase." One of the movers scratched his neck. "Sir, we can't take this stuff. She's got proof." Bryce's face twisted. "Just do your job." The movers looked at each other, then at me. "Sorry, ma'am. We didn't know." They began packing up. I stood in the doorway as they left, Bryce fuming. "You're nothing without me," he spat suddenly. His voice cracked, high-pitched. "You were a nobody before me. I made you better." I stepped closer, my voice cold. "If you made me better?" "Bryce, why did you call me Plan B?" For a second, he was speechless. Then his mouth twisted into a sneer. "Because you weren't even Plan A material." And then headlights swept into the lot. A sleek car pulled up. Out stepped Zara in heels too tall for the cracked asphalt. "Come on, baby," she called softly. "He's not worth it." "Baby." They drove away together, Bryce glaring at me through the tinted window. I thought that was the end of it, but the fallout had only begun. The next day I got a call from a mutual friend who worked at Bryce's firm. "Camille, you won't believe this. Your party speech. Everyone knows. Even his boss. They said he's an embarrassment to the company. He skipped work today, probably hiding." I pictured him slouched in Zara's car, unemployed, humiliated. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. Still, there was a hollow edge to my relief. Watching someone self-destruct isn't as satisfying as people imagine. Yes, I wanted justice. Yes, I wanted revenge. But mostly, I wanted peace. Instead, Bryce kept circling my life like a moth drawn to a flame he couldn't control. And I had a sinking feeling his final crash hadn't come yet. After the fiasco with the moving truck, Bryce disappeared for a few days. No late-night banging on my door, no texts from unknown numbers. Just silence. I should have felt relief, but instead I felt tension coil tighter in my stomach. Silence from Bryce was never peace, it was plotting. The first sign came through a mutual friend. "Camille," she whispered over the phone, "have you seen Bryce's GoFundMe?" I blinked. "His what?" She sent me the link. There it was, plastered with a smiling photo of him and Zara cropped conveniently close. The headline screamed, "Help a young man escape financial abuse." An escape. According to Bryce's sob story, I had trapped him in a toxic relationship, drained him financially, then kicked him out into the streets with nothing. The description painted him as a saint and me as a monster. He asked for $10,000 to rebuild his life. I laughed so hard I cried. But the internet has a way of correcting lies. Because in the comments, one of Bryce's coworkers, James, wrote, "Didn't you call her Plan B at your own birthday before she dumped you?" Another chimed in, "Bro, we saw the video. Stop lying." Within hours, the page was bombarded. Donations stalled at $75, all from his aunt and a college buddy. By evening, he deleted the campaign entirely. But humiliation wasn't done with him yet. At his job, his precious job, the one he always boasted about, word spread quickly. His boss had been at the birthday party. He had witnessed everything. 2 days later, Bryce's firm encouraged him to resign to pursue other opportunities. Translation, he was fired. Meanwhile, his living situation was just as bleak. He officially moved in with Zara, but Zara still lived with her parents. Their pristine suburban home wasn't built to handle Bryce's chaos. It didn't take long before I got a message of all people from Zara's mother, Patricia. The text read, "Camille, I believe you. He's already become our problem. Good riddance." I sat on my couch phone in hand, staring at the words. For a moment, pity stabbed me. Then it faded. Patricia was right. Bryce wasn't my problem anymore. Still, his attempts to claw back power continued. One afternoon, he sent a mutual friend, Tiffany, to my gym. She climbed onto the treadmill next to mine, panting dramatically. "You know Bryce is struggling," she began casually. "He's sleeping on couches, barely eating. Could you maybe help him out?" I removed my earbuds deadpan. "Wendy's is hiring." Her face twisted. "Are you serious? You're just going to let him starve?" "He has 20 days left to collect his things," I replied coolly. "He's got time to figure it out. Same as any adult." I put my earbuds back in and finished my run. Tiffany stomped away. The spectacle didn't stop there. Bryce and Zara started posting couple photos everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. As if love was a professional credential. Their captions made me choke on my coffee. Finally, with someone who values me. Real recognizes real. The irony was rich. Zara had taken my leftovers and she didn't even know it. But what she did know eventually was Bryce's inability to keep his mask on. Because while Zara posed with him online behind the scenes, he was messaging her best friend late at night with the same hungry charm he once used on me. Patricia, Zara's mother, caught it first. She checked their Ring camera footage and saw Bryce sneaking out at odd hours, muttering excuses. She confronted Zara, who at first defended him, claiming her mother was jealous and controlling. But then came the truth, delivered by none other than Zara's best friend herself. She admitted Bryce had been sending her private messages asking to meet up alone. Zara's world cracked. The implosion was swift. One rainy night, Zara threw his clothes into black garbage bags and dumped them on the lawn. Neighbors watched from their porches as Bryce screamed, trying to charm, then threaten, then beg. Zara didn't budge. She locked the door. He stood in the rain for an hour before calling me. It was close to midnight when my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Camille, his voice cracked through static, wet and frantic. "It's me. I need you." I nearly laughed. "You need me." "She kicked me out," he said desperately. "I'm outside in the rain. Please, I have nowhere else to go." I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, feeling both anger and pity. "Bryce, we broke up. You called me Plan B. You tried to break into my apartment. You attempted bank fraud." "That was all miscommunication," he shouted. "I was hurt. I didn't mean it. You embarrassed me." "Not my problem." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Anywhere but here," I said flatly. "Because I won't be anyone's backup plan." I hung up. The next morning, screenshots flooded my phone. Friends sent me his Instagram story, a cryptic black screen with white text. "Toxic exes never let you go." The comments were brutal. "Didn't she dump you at your birthday, bro? You're literally homeless. Team Camille." Within hours, he deleted his account. Watching from the sidelines, I felt strangely detached. His downfall wasn't mine to orchestrate anymore. It was simply happening, like gravity pulling him down. Sometimes revenge doesn't need flames or fury. Sometimes you just stop holding the rope. And Bryce, without anyone to catch him, was learning how hard the fall could be. Bryce's final collapse wasn't explosive. It was slow, humiliating, and strangely inevitable, like watching a thread unravel until there was nothing left but dust. After Zara threw him out in the rain, he bounced from couch to couch, clinging to anyone foolish enough to give him pity. But pity has an expiration date, and Bryce had already burned through all his credit. The messages trickled in from mutual friends, people who couldn't resist giving me updates. He's staying at his cousin's, but they're already fed up. He begged his aunt for money. She said no. He's talking about suing you. I didn't respond. I didn't feed the fire. Silence was more powerful than any defense. 2 weeks later, I got an unexpected call. The name on my screen made my chest tighten. Patricia Zara's mother. Camille, she said, her voice firm, but almost apologetic. You need to know what's happening. Apparently, Bryce had been spinning a new web of lies this time to Zara. He told her I was stalking him, harassing him, trying to win him back. He even fabricated text threads, messages he had sent himself from a burner phone, pretending they were from me. For a while, Zara believed him. But Patricia wasn't so easily fooled. She showed Zara their ring footage clips of Bryce sneaking out late at night, meeting other women, including Zara's best friend. She laid the truth bare. When Zara confronted him, Bryce tried to twist it back on Patricia. She's jealous. She doesn't want me here. She's controlling you. But then Zara's best friend admitted everything. Bryce had been hitting on her, sending her inappropriate photos, begging her to talk privately about Zara. Zara finally saw him for what he was. That night, Bryce was dumped for the second time in a month. His belongings were shoved into garbage bags again, this time left on the curb. The rain seemed to follow him as though the sky itself wanted him washed away. Later that evening, close to midnight, my phone rang again. Camille, his voice rasped through the static. It's me. Please, I need you to pick me up. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the ceiling. You're calling me now? I'm outside Zara's. She kicked me out. I'm soaked. I have nowhere else. His voice cracked, slipping into a pitiful whine. Please, Cam. I need somewhere to stay. My stomach tightened, but not with sympathy, with clarity. Bryce, I said quietly. We broke up because you called me Plan B. You lied. You cheated. You tried to steal from me. You humiliated me. And now you want me to save you. That was all a mistake, he shouted. A miscommunication. I was hurt. No, you were selfish. I breathed slowly. And I won't be anyone's backup plan. Not yours. Not ever again. The silence on the line stretched until I finally hung up. The next morning, Bryce posted a black and white selfie on Instagram with the caption, "Some people destroy your life over one stupid comment." The comments section lit up instantly. Didn't you call her Plan B? She literally paid your rent. Camille deserves better. Within hours, he deleted his account altogether. It was the last time I ever saw his face online. The months that followed were quiet. My apartment felt lighter without his presence, my nights finally free of frantic knocks and buzzing phones. I heard through the grapevine that he had moved back to his hometown, living with his parents, working data entry at his father's insurance office. His mother apparently told neighbors that I had manipulated her poor boy, painting him as a victim. But the truth had already spread further than her excuses could reach. Everyone who had witnessed the birthday party, everyone who had seen the GoFundMe, everyone who knew his patterns, they had seen through him. He wasn't a tragic victim. He was a man who had burned through every safety net. And me, I found myself again. I started going to the climbing gym more often, drawn to the challenge, the feeling of scaling walls under my own strength. That's where I met Jenna, a woman with calloused hands, and a laugh like sunlight breaking through clouds. On our first date, she leaned across the table smirking. Just so you know, Camille, you're nobody's Plan B in my book. Also what you did at Bryce's party, legendary. I laughed until my ribs hurt. For the first time in years, the laughter was mine. Sometimes I think about Bryce. Not with anger anymore, not even pity. Just recognition. He was the lesson I needed to learn, that love without respect isn't love at all. That being someone's backup plan is a slow form of erasure. The best revenge wasn't my toast at his birthday, though that moment was unforgettable. The best revenge was stepping back and letting him face the natural consequences of his choices. Because eventually even Plan B